Thank you for joining us today. This video is brought to you by Slay the Brother. My name is Killtrap. Me and my brother make videos mainly about Magic the Gathering. In today's video, I will be showcasing a mono green standard aggro deck that does pretty good in the mythic ranks. I'm not going to lie. We've got somewhere around a 50 to 55% win rate, which isn't bad if you're not looking to climb the ladders and just make it to the top, be the best of the best. So this deck is based around a heavy synergy of creatures that create counters and just beefing them up. Innkeeper's Talent is great for that. It was one of the key building blocks of this deck to begin with. Innkeeper's Talent is a 2-mana class enchantment with 3 levels. The first level reads, at the beginning of combat on your turn, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. For 1 more mana, you can gain permanents you control with counters on them, have Ward 1. And this stacks between Innkeeper's Talents. So if you have 2 of them at level 1, that's Ward 2. 3 of them, that's Ward 3. And the final level, which costs 4 mana, if you would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many of each of those kinds on that permanent or player instead. Everyone knows about this ability, really, because this is why Vraska is such a thing in Standard right now. We have a, insta-kill combo if you drop her on turn 6 or turn 5 maybe if you've been ramping. Our first creature on the list is Evolve and Adaptive. Evolve and Adaptive is a 0/0 for 1 mana who enters with an oil counter. They get +1/+1 for each oil counter on them, and whenever a creature with power or toughness greater than them enters the battlefield under your control, they get another oil counter. This is a great turn 1 drop. Really like a go-to for a lot of my mono green aggro decks. They just keep getting bigger and keep getting bigger until you've hit the cap for your creatures. But we have a few ways, more than just Innkeeper's Talent, to keep them getting bigger. The next one drop on the list is something my brother would refer to as a draft chap. But Sunshower Druid is actually pretty good fuel for your deck. Whenever they're 0/2 for 1 mana, which doesn't seem good for aggro, but their ability is pretty nice for aggro. When Sunshower Druid enters, put a 1/1 counter on target creature, and you gain 1 life. 1 life's, it's not too bad, especially with aggro red. If you have Sunshower Druid in your hand and you drop them on Evolving Adaptive on turn 2, then that's a 3/3 on turn 2, which isn't too shabby, especially being they're swinging. They do have a lot more synergy with our deck later on, but the reason I picked them over other 1-drops like Paw Patch Recruit is Paw Patch Recruit just screams, kill me. Fucking kill me. Get me off the field. I wanted somebody that maybe lays low a little bit, isn't as much of a threat. Like, sure, Paw Patch's Recruit's ability is amazing to keep people like Evolve and Adaptive alive, or my Core and Beast Caller if I want to build her up more. But, yeah, dude, I would kill that guy on sight if I had a red deck or a black deck or a white deck. Like, he's gone. I'm not letting him screw around. So I wanted someone that could benefit my other creatures like right away, even though it is more limited. Golden Hydra is... This guy is gas, grass, and ass all in one. It's X +1 green, and Vigilist, Trample, Haste. Gold Vein Hydra enters with X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the amount you paid after the first. When they die, though, you get to create tapped treasure tokens equal to their power. So just by themselves, they're great. And you work them with someone like Core and Beast Caller, with Sunshower Druid, and they're getting ramped up now. And of course, we have Innkeeper's Talent in here, so that's just going to keep making them bigger if you have both of them on the field. Of course, I've been mentioning Core and Beast Caller. Here she is. Finally, we got to talk about her. Just an amazing, awesome creature. Once again, though, it just screams, kill me, remove me, get me off the field. So more times than not, you'll play them, and they get wiped out by turn 2. At the end of your turn 2, beginning of their turn 2 or 3. But it's still great to have because the value when you do keep her, she just keeps building up and building up. And then as long as they don't exile her or return her to your hand or deck, then you get to put those counters on any creature you want. Which she also synergizes well with our next 2-drop, which is Rootwire Amalgam. I'm going to try to get through this now. They're a 5-drop for 5 mana, which is nothing too fancy, especially for green. You'll want to write home about that. They have Prototype for 2 mana, so you can play them as a 2/3 for 2 mana, which does seem a lot better. Still nothing too amazing, especially for green. But their last ability is pretty good. For 5 mana, sacrifice Rootwire Amalgam. Create an XX colorless golem artifact creature token, where X is 3 times Rootwire Amalgam's power. It gains haste until end of turn. Unfortunately, you can only activate this as a sorcery, so you're not dodging removal with this ability. But the reason I chose him over Keen-Eyed Curator, because Keen-Eyed Curator is a 3/3 with Trample on turn 2. We're mono green, all I'm rocking here is Forest, so I would have no issue playing them. But if Keen-Eyed Curator gets exiled by an enchantment like Temporal Lockdown or Ley Binding, when they come back, they're just a 3/3. I don't know if the cards exiled with them stay with them or not. I feel like they wouldn't and they shouldn't. But him, on the other hand, he's guaranteed to come back as a 5/5. And Temporal Lockdown, Ley Binding, those really are huge wrenches in our gears. We get those thrown at us and it really slows us down a lot. Which is why, to step away from creatures for a bit, we have Paw Patch Formation as an instant in this deck. Choose one for 2 mana, choose one. Destroy target creature with flying, destroy target enchantment, or draw a card and create a food token. The last ability, it's just nice to have card advantage as green. And a food token, you tap and sacrifice it, pay 2 mana, you gain 3 life. If we've got nothing better to do with our mana, we may as well do that. And that's only in a late game, though. But the first 2 abilities especially are useful for us, because as I just mentioned, there's a lot of enchantments that can lock us down. There's also those Orzhov decks who like to bounce their enchantment back into their hand and then play it again. And you know which enchantment I'm talking about, that makes you discard cards. It's going to be a real pain in the ass when that stuff keeps coming at you. Speaking about royal pains in the asses, there's flyers all over Standard. We have bats that steal cards from our hands. We have Slick Shot Show Off. We still have that blue Djinn who has power equal to the amount of instants and sorceries in a player's graveyard. And then we have Atraxa. And someone hits Atraxa, they've probably got an Atraxa off their Atraxa, or they have another way to get it out of their graveyard anyways. So we're just hoping that one turn where we can kill the Atraxa is enough for us to get the win in that case. But in a lot of cases, you destroy that Djinn, you destroy Slick Shot Show Off, you're giving that deck a lot of trouble because that was one of their main bashers, and they don't have ways to get them back. You destroy that bat with flying, well, you have another chance to throw down one of your big bashers who we're just now getting up to. We have Bloated Contaminator, the MVP of this deck. Bloated Contaminator is a 4/4 for 3 mana, and they have Trample. That's pretty good solid body on its own. Toxic one is nice. We don't really care about that, being they're our only toxic creature. What we really care about is their ability, which is triggered on combat damage. Whenever Bloated Contaminator deals combat damage to a player, proliferate. Now I'm going back to Evolving Adaptive here, because we have a lot of ways to give Evolve and Adaptive that 1/1 counter. We have Sunshower Druid. We have Innkeeper's Talent. We have, God forbid if we have to, Korin Beastcaller. You have that guy on the field with an oil counter and a 1/1 counter on them. They're ramping up real quick. That's +2/+2 after every combat. That stays around if you have Bloated Contaminator on the field. I mean, they'll buff Korin Beastcaller. They'll buff your Sunshower Druid if they had to give the counter to themselves. It's amazing to give to your Gold Vein Hydra, especially if you have another Gold Vein Hydra sitting in your hand and you're like, I want to make it big. I don't want to just drop another 5/5. I'm going to drop a fucking 10/10. Because that's another way I look at this guy. They are a win condition in this deck. If you can just beef them up really strong based off the death of another, why not? Nothing's better than a card that synergizes with itself. Unless it's legendary. Which, speaking about legendaries, we have one in this deck. Polychronis Reborn. As I've been saying, flying is a pain in my butt. So, creatures with reach are important. We have 3 copies of Polychronis Reborn in this deck. They're a pretty solid creature anyways, though. A 4/5 with reach is pretty good. It's nothing to scoff at. They can deal some damage, too. Unfortunately, as you've noticed, they are one of the many creatures who don't have Trample in this deck. Their activated ability, though, is amazing. Because especially once we're getting out to those decks who want to make the game drag on and last as long as possible because that's what they get off on, we get to transform this into a creature, a 6/6 with reach and lifelink. And lifelink is huge, especially when they throw an Atraxa down. And then to make it even better, whenever they die, we get a 3/3 green and white Phyrexian Hydra with a lifelink and another one with a reach. So we still have life gain, we still have a blocker for those flyers. It's starting to look like a better world. Doomscar Warrior is, I think he's great gas. He's a great basher too. For 4 mana, we could get a little stronger. We could get a 6/5 on the field if we wanted. But backup, his backup is why he's in this deck. Because not only with backup can you put a 1/1 counter on another creature, which works great for a lot of the creatures in this deck, especially you, Goldvein Hydra. But their ability reads, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player or battle, look at that many cards from the top of your library. You may reveal a creature or land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You get this guy big enough, you're just going to start cycling through your whole deck, even though we're really hoping that's not the case, because that means we're facing a life gain deck. But this guy is great to throw on any other creature. Then they get trample. Then they give you card advantage. And you can hopefully just keep that coming with Doomscar Warrior for the turns to come. Our final card is Railway Brawler. And he works great with everybody in the deck. For 5 mana, you get a 5/5 creature with reach and trample. They have plot for 4. No nifty ability when you plot them. But that's not too bad, because we just get to put them to the side. Maybe play mind games on someone, or just let that counter deck know, like, yeah, you better have a real hard counter coming for me, not one where I have to pay mana. But their ability reads, whenever another creature you control enters, put X 1/1 counters on it, where X is its power. Which, this is amazing for multiple reasons. First of all, Goldvein Hydra. They enter with the counters. You pay 5 mana for a Goldvein Hydra, you get a 4/4, now you got an 8/8. Especially if you're trying to chain Goldvein Hydras, he works beautifully. Polychronis Engine of Ruin. When they die, you don't just get 2 3/3 tokens anymore. You get 2 6/6 tokens. And I mean, there's just so much potential with this guy if you get him late game and then you keep having to drop your little 2 drops, or God forbid a 1 drop. You're at least beefing them up a little bit so that they have some power, some sustainability. Because, yeah, nothing sucks worse than being turn 6, turn 7, top decking, and oh boy, here comes an Evolving Adaptive. Perfect timing, buddy. In this deck, I only run 21 lands. I wanted to run 20, but it's just a little inconsistent, and just that extra 1 or 2% on drawing a land helps out. One cool thing you can do with this deck, if you have all the pieces in hand, one of them is going to be Innkeeper's Talent, is you can drop Evolving Adaptive on turn 1, and then drop Core and Beastcaller on turn 2. Not as potent on that second turn as having the Sunshower Druid, but it's going to pay off, because you have 3 mana next turn. Maybe you want to drop Bloated Contaminator, or Polychronis Reborn. Maybe you're afraid they got removal. Drop Innkeeper's Talent, then drop a Sunshower Druid. Sunshower Druid will give Core and Beastcaller a 1/1 counter by default. You then give Sunshower Druid's counter 2 Evolving Wilds. You have 2 3/3s on the field, a 3/3 and a 4/4 when combat comes, because Innkeeper's Talent will trigger. And then next turn, if you have your 3-drop in hand and you just happen to draw a land, you can just drop the 3-drop and upgrade Innkeeper's Talent. This way you're keeping the momentum going. Because both your 3-drops at this point should be able to upgrade Evolving Adaptive. Thank you for watching this video today. My brother and I really appreciate it. Be sure to check out our channel for more videos and more deck builds. If you want to see a more aggressive deck that will actually carry you up the ladder, check out my Burn Together deck for Historic. It doesn't require a lot of rare wild cards. If you play Standard, you probably have most of the lands you need. Stomping Grounds will be the only rare lands you'll need to waste your wild cards on to play this. It's got like a 68-70% win rate, so you can't go wrong with trying to use this to climb up the ladders. Thank you for watching this video. Please give it a like. Please subscribe to the channel and check out our other content. I know my brother works really hard on his stuff. I can't say the same for myself. And I really hope you guys enjoy this. If anybody has any suggestions for future content they want to see, or how we can improve our content moving forward, please let us know in the comments below.